Hi crafters, welcome back to another segment of KISS, Keep It Simple Sylvia. This is the month of April, and in April we're working with twine. I'm going to show you how to make some really cute, I call them lollipops for lack of better description. And what we're going to need for this today is we're going to need some baker's twine, but we need a hot glue gun, and we need packing tape. Let's get started. What you need to do is you need to pull off some packing tape. And what I do is I take the sticky side, I want the sticky side up. So I'm going to stick the sticky side down. I kind of roll the edges over and back on them. So I'm going to stick them down on a surface. This is my craft mat here. And I've got some tape. I know it's hard to see, but there's tape here on the surface. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some baker's twine, and with the way I like to measure, once again, handy dandy measurement, we're going to do about an arm's length, okay? So cut off about an arm's length of baker's twine. Now fold it in half. Get the two edges, fold it in half. We're going to work with the curved part first. And I want you to put the curved part right on the sticky tape. I'm going to zoom this in so you can see a little bit better. Okay, I've got it on my sticky tape, and this is it can be a little difficult at first to get going on this, but once you get going on it, it goes real easy. And we're going to start twisting it around on itself. Now you want to keep the two sections of your baker's twine level. You don't want to cross them over. So I'm just going to start pulling this together. And I'm going to work it around in a circle, keeping my baker's twine level and not crossing them over. Sometimes you might have to actually work with one, piece at a time as you're putting this together. But once you get going and you get a big enough area to work with, you can actually start working with the two. Okay, so I'm going to put my finger on here, and I'm just going to start wrapping the things around each other. And what I'm doing is I'm making a coil. A spiral, a coil, whatever you might want to call it. And keep it tight. And just keep moving it around. See how it's getting bigger now, so I can actually, it's easier to work with the two pieces. You want to keep it flat. And the only way you can keep it flat is to make sure that you don't cross the strings here, the strands. And just keep putting it on together, coiling it around itself. Keep coiling. Coiling. Now you can make these any size that you want to. You don't have to take it off, on an arm's length like what we did. You want to make it smaller. To me, these look like lollipops when you get them done. So I just kind of make it the size of what a lollipop would be. Just keep coiling them together. Okay, we're working it together. Sorry for the silence here, but I'm trying to pay attention. I'll probably do this. Now, the reason I do it double is so I don't have to make so many twists with it. I mean, you could do it single if you wanted to, but you'd just be coiling and coiling and coiling. Okay, and I'm getting to the end, and just bring this around, just tuck it in. Make sure you keep that coil nice and smooth. Once again, my fingernails are not cooperating today. Okay. We've got that done. We've got a nice flat little coil here. Now we're going to take our glue. And we're just going to put a bunch on the top of this. Just spread it around and around. This is going to hold it together because we're going to take it off of the packing tape. And when you get the glue on it, take your packing tape and turn it upside down on your craft mat and press it against the craft mat. Now what that's doing is that's distributing that hot glue. Now you could put glossy accents on it if you didn't have hot glue, or you know, any other kind of liquidy type glue like white glue. You could do that. I like the hot glue because it gives me almost like a rubber backing on it, which I think is really kind of cool. Plus it keeps it kind of stiff. Now once the hot glue is dry, then we're going to peel the packing tape off. And it's a little tricky when you first do this because it actually feels like you're pulling your circle apart. That's why you want to make sure the hot glue is dry. And just start pulling this. Pulling it off. Okay, now when the hot glue's done, just peel it up. Now, on the back, you might notice that not everything is sealed. If that's the case, put some more glue down. And then put it right back on the craft mat and press it down to spread that glue all around. And then on this edge that's loose, you can put some glue down there too and catch it. Now, if you get a lot of glue and it comes out over the edge, that's okay because you can cut this away. It's not a problem. Okay, I'm going to let that set up. Make sure it's nice and dry and it's cold. That's how you know the hot glue is set up, is when it's cold, not hot anymore. Pull it off of here. Now you see my little frayed edge here? I don't like that, so I'm going to cut it. I'm going to turn it over, and I don't know if you can see, but I've got some hot glue on the edge here. I'm just going to cut that off. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to cut off those strands of that loose edge. And I'm going to do the same thing for this edge right here. And then you have yourself a cute little coil. Now, if you want to put a backing on it, it's real easy to do. You can just leave it the way it is. I don't know if you can see the hot glue on it. You can see that it's shiny. It has a nice rubbery feel to it. You can apply this to any project that you want, just the way it is right now, but if you want to make it a little stiffer, the easiest way to do that is just get some printer paper or any scrap paper that you might have. Put your little coil on your scrap paper and get a heat gun out and heat it up. What this is going to do, this is going to melt that hot glue. And when it melts that hot glue, you can press this onto the paper, and then that's going to give you a backing. Now, I don't like to put a backing on it first. In fact, most of the time I don't even use the backing. But the backing does give it a little stiffness if you're going to have it stand up or anything. I find it works better if I use the packing tape to coil rather than to coil onto, say, like a round circle or something. For the simple fact that when you're gluing it down with hot glue or any other kind of glue, it just gets messy all over the front, and I don't like the look of that. I like the look of my baker's twine to come through. And incidentally, this is the baker's twine that I colored on the very first segment when I showed you how you can make your own baker's twine. Okay, so I've got that heated up pretty good, and I'm just going to turn it over on my craft mat. I'm just going to press it down and hold it until it gets cold. And I'm pressing the paper then into that glue that's been warmed up. And if you wanted to, you could, use a pretty piece of scrap paper on the back that's got a pattern to it. So you have a two-sided look to it. If you were going to stand these up like lollipops or something. Okay, so now I've got that, and I'm just going to cut it out. Because we'll get right to the edge. And just cut it off. But like I said, you didn't have to do this part. Okay, there we go. We've got our coil, and then we have the paper on the back. And it's definitely a lot more rigid than what it was the other way. And you can use that on any project that you want to use it on. I'm going to show you some of other ones that I made. That I made out of, we had the actual jute twine, and then this one's a real small one. I made this out of the hemp twine. You can see that. It's very small and real dainty looking because it is so tiny. And then another one that I made out of the baker's twine that we colored. I just left that plain. I didn't put anything on the back. There's another one I made. And I put some paper on the back. And then also, I want to show you that you can cut it into any shape that you want. I made this into a little heart. And what I did is I used my packing tape, tore off some of it, stuck it down with the sticky side up, and I just cut some straight pieces of yarn or baker's tape and just lay them side by side on the packing tape. And you can make this any length that you want, any width, and just lay them side by side so that they're real close together. Make it as long or as short as you want it to be. Mix and match your colors of baker's twine. You could do this out of the regular jute or the hemp. And I did this exactly the same way. I'm going to pause this while I finish making this, and I'll show you how we can complete. Okay, I've got my strips laid down, and I just are using leftover scraps. It's a really great way to use leftover scraps of baker's twine or any kind of twine when you're done working on a project. And I've just got them on my tape, and I've just laid them straight. And I'm going to put some glue on them to hold them all together. And you do exactly the same thing. You just drop some hot glue down on them. Make sure you get it pretty well covered. Wait a minute, I gotta get a glue stick. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, I got my glue down. I'm going to pick it up from my mat. And I'm just going to turn it over and smush it all together. And then wait till it's dry. Now you can keep it in the rectangular shape that it's in. Or like I said, you can cut it. I'll show you how you can cut it. And just when you make sure that you have all your strands nice and tight, you can still kind of push them together and work them together when that glue's hot. Okay, and then when it sets up, and it's important you wait for it to set up where the glue's no longer hot. So before you take your packing tape off. Now sometimes some glue's going to come through and stick to the packing tape, but that's okay. It'll pull off. I think these are really cute. I just love the look of the little circles. You can actually use some of these, like if you make them real small, you could put them on the inside of a flower. I love the jute ones. I think the jute is just, I love the way that looks. You could make them big enough and make a coaster out of them. Make them big enough and you can make a placemat out of them. Trying to get this. Okay, I'm waiting for this to set up. It's still warm. Okay, now that it's set up, let's see about getting the packing tape off of it. It's a nice thing about working on one of these non-stick surfaces. It just is really helpful if you just hold on to the baker's twine or whatever twine you're using as you're pulling this packing tape down. Just so it comes off easier. And then just keep pulling it down to hold on to it. Okay, we got our packing tape off. It feels pretty dry. I'm going to peel it up off of the nonstick surface. And you can see that there's some glue on the edge here. You know, that can be trimmed off. We can trim these edges straight, so I'm going to do that. I'll trim all this glue off. Love the way it feels. It just feels, it's got such a cool feel to it. Okay, I'm just going to trim this so all the strands are level. This in itself makes a cute little embellishment, just, you know, a nice little rectangle or square. There you go. Isn't that cute? I even like all the different colors that I put on here as a leftover. And you can always trim up whatever you want. Just love that. Or, like I showed you, you could trim it in the shape of a heart. You make any shape you want, a diamond, whatever, any shape that you want. If you want to put this on a backing, once again, you would just heat it up and put it on printer paper or any other kind of paper and smush it down, and it would be stuck to a backing. And it would definitely be a little, you can see that this is not rigid, where the ones that are on a backing are a little bit more stiff. It just all depends on how you want to work with it, whatever you want to do. Well, I hope you enjoyed this segment of Kiss, Keep It Simple Sylvia, making these cute little, like I said, I call them lollipops because they look like those lollipops. And just a nice, easy way to use up some leftover twine and baker's twine and regular twine. So thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now, crafters.